Hey there guys, Nate here again. In the last video we showed you how to start building an experiment with processes that were already in the system. And this time around we're actually going to show you how to build brand new processes, which is really the focus of your research. How do we build better processes faster, right? And so really as we're starting to look at get more familiar with this experiment builder, this is think of this a lot like a better traveler sheet. So the first step in prepping for that next experiment, we'll go and add a quick process, and just like normal, we'll start kind of typing and maybe something comes up, but we know because we're working on something brand new that this time it won't. So we'll do negative tone photolithography using a new mask that we designed. We'll have mask number 253. And then of course that process description is equally as important. So in this case, just so that we can remember later, what this process is going to do is produce 150 micron features with a 50 nanometer pitch, and that's tied back to the mask. But without getting into too far details, it's mostly for you to remember what you're working on. So then, of course, the next step is to start building that process. What's actually going to go into it? So in this case, we've read a few papers and determined that the first thing we need to do is prep the wafer. So up at the top, you'll see this this first line is all about an action. Think of this as effectively the title of that step. So it's a two-step prep thing. So we'll first do a prep clean. And then this second line is all about the description. Tell me exactly what we're doing in this step. And keep in mind, the more verbose you can be here, the easier it'll be moving forward, and you'll never have to write this again. So in this description, we're just going to do a simple clean with acetone and IPA. Then copy those down here. The rest of the fields are optional. Usually it's pretty good to keep track of where you're doing things. Again, be as verbose as possible. And you'll see these starting to populate here. Next step would be a prep dehydration bake. And here we're going to bake at 120°C for 10 minutes. Now I'll quickly populate the rest of the experiment just for the sake of time. Here's an example where we added the spin curve for this photoresist just for quick reference. Whew, all right, you made it. 30 seconds, not too bad. Anyway, so now you can go and just review that process that you worked hard on. There's all these steps down here. And then, as promised, if we look at negative tone photolithography, if you ever are working on this or any other experiment moving forward, you just start typing negative tone photolithography, and well, guess what? There it is. And we'll be talking more about in the recipe library how we start to confirm that process once we're ready and actually get the rest of the lab working from the same playbook. But before we get there, one of the important things. Let's say before you're ready to run this experiment, you want to have one of somebody else in your lab actually review your work, so you don't go spend the next 40 hours wasting your time, or more importantly, wasting a ton of money in the lab. So that's where the share function comes in that we'll be talking about in the next video. All right, guys, getting better all the time. Talk to you on the next one.